each time that I think that this cross-border space between Brazil and the world has reached its maximum, I'm wrong. Every year it's growing steadily and steadily and steadily. 79% of Brazilian consumers typically would divide their purchase into installments. So this is a reality, it has been a reality. Now, we are also integrated with NoPay, which offers the user the capability to make a purchase with an offshore merchant and have the interest rate defined by NoBank itself in the checkout process. What we're focused on is to make the financial products available for merchants that don't have a local entity and a local structure in Brazil, so that they can grant for the consumer base the same experience that a local e-commerce player can provide.
Brazil is home to the largest economy in South America and has been since the 1960s. But though most of the decades since then have been characterized by globalization, the Brazilian economy remained, according to the Council on Foreign Relations, one of the most closed in the world. But that's changing and quickly. Trade as a percentage of GDP had bounced between 20% and 30% for the last 2 decades, but went from 29% in 2019 to 32% to 38% to 39% last year. And that brings some new challenges for financial services, who are unused to lending to customers whose incomes and expenditures cross international borders. It may be more famous for its football and beaches and carnival, but today we're in Brazil to learn about buy now, pay later and an increasingly important understanding of forex flows. Welcome to How to Lend Money to Strangers with Brendan Lagrange. Vinícius Vieira, Head of Business Development at BEXS. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Brendan. It's a pleasure to be joining you.
And Vinícius, you're no stranger to the world of payments and digital commerce. So before we get into the work you're doing now with BEXS, would you mind talking a little bit about your early career?
So I've been working with cross-border payments from Latin America with the world since 2012. Project building for businesses worldwide willing to crack the Latin American market and extract the maximum payment conversion they could in regards to the local consumers.
And now you're at BEXS, which is all about connecting Brazil to the world via exchange and payment technologies, and as we'll hear later, credit tools as well. So I visited bex.com.br and I see you've got a few aspects to the business. Would you mind giving us a quick overview of the BEXS group and its history, kind of how it fits together? And if this is not making it too complicated for a single question, maybe just a little bit of context of how it fits into the Brazilian financial landscape.
BEXS, it's a regulated foreign exchange bank. It exists as a company since 1989, so it's been around for quite a long time, operating in the market as a regulated bank since 2010. As a financial institution, BEXS started digitizing cross-border consumption, which has started with enabling Brazilian consumers accessing worldwide products on Chinese e-commerce overall, but also worldwide merchants offering goods to Brazilian consumers. And then it went through a revolutionary path of tackling other forms of cross-border enablement from B2C to B2B to investments to remittances. And also in 2018, we've created our own payment company called BEXS Pay, providing the best fit payment products to Brazilian consumers while they are accessing worldwide merchants, such as payment with installments, buy now, pay later, and local payment options.
Lovely. And Vinícius, when I was preparing for this, I see that actually half of the people in South America live in Brazil. So it is a market that attracts a lot of interest from international companies. And recently, Revolut, the British fintech, has launched a business in Brazil. So clearly that interest from outside players still exists.
That's correct. So we've been helping and supporting international companies to access the Brazilian market. Companies like Revolut, for instance, which just recently launched an operation with us, and also other global PSPs such as Nuvei, PPRO, and so on and so forth.
Also, just if I think about the headlines, at least the ones that make it to the English-speaking world, it's all about neobanks, and in particular Nubank, the now 10-year-old neobank with 50 million customers already. So from the inside, what has it been like to experience that change throughout your career and that uptake of fintech?
So we're talking about a country with 212 million people, in which 80% of the population is online, that has 27% e-commerce growth year over year, and that has 60% cross-border e-commerce growth since 2021. It is a huge market indeed. Those numbers, they show that. But at the same time, how do they have a localized experience while accessing goods worldwide, which is something that they are willing to do? The numbers show that. There was a big demand in Brazil for financial inclusion. This created a big opportunity for these new banks. Since the pandemic, the bankarization level in Brazil went to 165 million people to 188 million people. And that was mainly provoked by these new digital banks that presented themselves to the market. So digital accounts, really smooth credit and account creation processes for this consumption base to offer financial products and give credit for those consumers. Brazil also created an interoperability system called BEXS 3 years ago, which enables peer-to-peer transfers with no cost and real time. This interoperability system connects all those digital banks with the traditional banking, allowing financial interaction to take place really smooth, really low cost. So it democratizes a little bit the access of consumption. When you have a set of digital banks, including this consumption base into the financial ecosystem and giving them capabilities to consume goods while you have a big demand for cross-border consumption, it enables our business to organically grow together with these trending realities of more people accessing the financial ecosystem, having more access to financial products, because our mission is indeed giving access for Brazilian consumers to worldwide goods and services and allow them to interact financially while accessing investment portfolio offshore, relating funds globally, or even on a B2B side to have like small and medium businesses conducting the foreign exchange transactions with the best efficiency that a digital process can allow.
I earlier mentioned Nubank, not just because they're in the headlines and the name that everybody knows, but because there's a little product called NuPay, which we should probably talk a little bit about.
The concept of giving credit for purchase is pretty old in Brazil, so it has started in the 50s. It was a way for the market to increase the buying power of consumers, while credit was really hard to access. Consumers also struggled a lot with inflation rates, with big inflation rates. So this was a mechanism that the market, especially retail, created for allowing an individual to purchase something with a fixed price, but with the capability of dividing payment over several installments so that the purchase amount would fit into his monthly budget. Then when credit card brands started exploring deeply the Brazilian market, they started offering this. So the issuers, together with the local acquirers in Brazil, they started offering as well the capability of consumers to purchase with installments, paying those installments directly on their credit card bill month over month. And we came into a place in which 79% of Brazilian consumers typically would divide their purchase into installments. So this is a reality, it has been a reality. Now, with this ever-growing transition from physical retail to online retail, what has happened is that those processes that were mostly concentrated on the acquiring market, which was either on retail or online, offering installment-based purchases for the consumer base, also started being provided by digital banks on direct wallet checkout processes, such as Nubank. Nubank, it's a phenomenon. It has 70 million consumers in Brazil, And they have launched last year a product called Pay Indeed, which allows users to make a purchase and divide the transaction in installments, but out of the card ecosystem. So no bank gives a credit line for those consumers directly, considering the credit score that they have on their accounts, so that the user can divide a purchase installments directly on the checkout process, regardless of the status that he has in the credit card ecosystem. So it's one more additional credit layer provided to the users. And it has a lot more similarity with the concept of buy now, pay later that exists in North America and in Europe. We've been offering this product of NuPay since June 2022.
I'm originally from South Africa and I started my career with credit cards there. And traditionally, this is 20 years ago and from long before then as well, we used to have a product called Budget. And essentially your credit card limit was split in two. Half of it was for normal day-to-day transactions. And half of it at the point of purchase, you could say, put it over 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. And that installment in-store concept, as you said, it's been there for a long time. The key difference was that you used to pay that off at credit card interest rates. So you were paying very, very high costs for that installment, but people still appreciated it because you could do your day-to-day spending and then that one big item you bought every now and again, you could pay down in manageable chunks. And convenient, yes, but now we're seeing this new wave of BNPL that can take you out of the card ecosystem. And I guess in doing so, gives you so much more competition for price.
Indeed. I love the card ecosystem. I don't think there's anything wrong with the card ecosystem. It's pretty well done. It's interoperable. It's a special place for a long time. But my perception is that one of the benefits of removing the credit offering from the card ecosystem is that credit offered by the card ecosystem on installment-based purchase has like two dimensions of risk. So the credit risk itself and the transactional risk, chargebacks that can be applied to card transactions, that impacts pricing, credit cost, right? When you remove the transaction from the card ecosystem, my vision is that you still have, of course, credit risk, but that's managed directly from the institution that holds the account holder. So it has more accuracy to identify that and price that more accurate. And you remove the transactional risk of credit because on a wallet-based authenticated transaction, you don't have that big on over chargebacks.
Let's stay on this point for a moment and explore what BEXS and their BNPL solutions are. I guess, what are you doing there and how are you pulling these bits together? Because you're making these products and services available rather than underwriting the credit yourself.
That's true. So what we do is that we give the capability of a foreign merchant to give BNPL installment-based transactions offered to their client base. We bridge the necessity of the consumer with the willingness of the global merchant to sell more and convert more sales in Brazil. Currently, we do offer direct connectivity for worldwide merchants with local acquiring in Brazil. So we are capable to offer credit card-based installment transactions. But we are also integrated with NuPay, which offers them the capability of the user to consume and to make a purchase with an offshore merchant and have the interest rate defined by no bank itself in the checkout process when he's already authenticated in that.
Yeah, and I want to just pick up on that global merchant side because that's not something I'd fully understood the complexity of. You mentioned Chinese manufacturers and retailers. We've seen these websites that used to be for manufacturers and wholesalers and such become more direct to consumer. So you've got these places you can go on and order products and have them shipped or drop shipped. I'm imagining you're working with this sort of website or even just brands that we know from abroad and connecting them to Brazilian consumers. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, basically we are not playing in the marketplace, the local marketplace, by offering local payment options for local consumers consuming on local e-commerce. Instead of doing that, what we're focused on is to make the financial products available for merchants that don't have a local entity and a local structure in Brazil, so that they can grant for the consumer base the same experience that a local e-commerce player can provide.
Yeah. Opening up a whole new world of commerce to be able to use the tools they know, the bank accounts they know, the payment tools they know, and access anybody no matter where they are in the world in a seamless way. But yeah, fascinating part of the market to serve.
Indeed. as I said before, I've been in this industry since 2012, and back then another payment provider offering Brazilian consumers the capability to access goods on specific Chinese marketplaces. They struggle from those Chinese marketplaces. They saw a lot of traffic on their website coming from Brazil and a lot of transactional attempts, but really low payment conversions. So they were actually losing 70% of that potential consumer base. What we started doing with BEXS was actually localize the payment experience for this consumer base so that they could dodge the frustration of not being able to accomplish the purchase they were trying to do, so that they could actually capture the whole potentiality of the market. It is amazing how this has continuously been growing since then. Each time that I think that this cross-border space between Brazil and the world has reached its maximum maturity, I'm wrong. It keeps growing every year. It's growing steadily and steadily and steadily. It's amazing.
The word the frustration, I think, is a key one, because as a consumer, it just feels like it should be possible quite easily. And a lot of the business fits in this idea of growing choices and growing options where you can connect anywhere in the world. So almost infinite number of merchants, different products, different payment tools, and you're bringing them into one place. So if I'm a consumer and I go to the website of a Chinese manufacturer and I want to buy some products, I'm a Brazilian consumer. What does that experience look like? How do I interact with BEXS? Do I even know it's you?
It depends. Fully white label and transparent. So direct API server to server. So fully transparent for the consumer base, either on the generation of the BEXS QR code for paying, or either on a credit card transaction. But it can also be branded with our checkouts. Can also be branded with our BEXS QR code layout as well. So it depends a little bit on the configuration that the merchant wants to give for the end consumer. Some of them prefer to have a fully transparent process so they don't lose engagement with the consumer base on a brand level. Some of them would rather have our brand shown on checkout so that the users are identifying who is actually a company located in Brazil that they can access in case they have any issues with their payment process, as we also do customer care for those consumers on behalf of those worldwide merchants. So we are in Brazil the direct point of contact for the consumer. So it depends a little bit on the strategy of the merchant, but they have both options enabled.
That sort of trust that it adds by having a name that you know and a local team you can get a hold of. I mean, in all situations, it's good to have a trusted brand, but it's exponentially more important when you're doing a cross-border deal, particularly if this is your first time. So I should imagine that local presence is a huge driver of conversion, getting people to try for the first time. Let me make my first order. Yeah, really great example of putting these bits of the BEXS group strength together to make credit available for these sort of purchases that are just becoming so standard in our day-to-day lives. Vinícius, it's been a great pleasure hearing this from you and getting my head around what that actually means. Brazil is a market that, while I don't know very well, is very intriguing. And I think many people listening have an eye on Brazil, and that question always, how do we crack the market? So if anyone is listening here that wants to learn more, where can they go to find out about BEXS? Where can they follow the BEXS story online?
We've been pretty active on media. So if you type out BEXS on Google and a couple of recent articles regarding the industry that we've been co-creating, such as this one. Also, a lot of information is available in our website, our portfolio of clients, our solutions. Even our APIs are public. And myself, share my LinkedIn profile as well. Announcement of this podcast. I'm super responsive on social media. So any companies, merchants, and partners willing to access the Brazilian market and have questions or want to discuss anything in particularly about the market, understand the trends, just shoot me out a message.
For anybody who's a football fan, your name should be very memorable with Vinícius and Vieira.
Exactly. He made that easy for me.
Easy to find, but I will put those links in there. And BEXS, is BEXS.com.br if you want to jump straight to the website. But yeah, as I said, it's been a pleasure talking to you, learning a bit more about the Brazilian market. But before I let you go, where are you putting your energies? Where are you dedicating your time at the moment as BEXS?
Firstly, a lot of energy put on our existing initiatives, which is all that I've mentioned in the industry, and also providing FX infrastructure for digital banks, which is something that we're doing large scale with players like Revolut and Nubank and so on and so forth. But we are looking a lot towards B2B as an industry. We have paid a lot of attention on B2C cross-border flows so far. And now I think the challenge that we're trying to take ownership on and try to bring solutions to the market is, how do I bring a lot of efficiency on B2B trading as well? Everything that we offer in terms of buy now, pay later and dividing purchases in installments for natural persons that are accessing global merchants worldwide, we offer as well for Brazilian corporations accessing goods and services such as software, for instance, worldwide. But we are also trying to bring a lot of efficiency in the payment and FX operation as well. So we spent a lot of time, 11 years, heavily focused on B2C. Now we're also trying to bring the same efficiency to the B2B space. I think there's a big opportunity there.
Yeah, well, good luck for that. I think that it is such a pain historically, this sort of conversion of money and the payments and the admin that goes with that if we can find ways to make that efficient, it really does change what it means to be a business and open up the world. And I love that vision of connecting Brazil to the world, coming across in multiple different ways. So yes, thank you again for your time.
Same here.
It's been an education, but also very interesting for me to hear about the big story. And thank you all for listening. Please do look for and follow the show on your favorite podcast platform and share the updates widely on LinkedIn. Plus, send me a connection request while you're there. This show is written and recorded by myself, Brendan Lagrange, in Brighton, England. Show music is by I Am Wake, and you can find show notes and written transcripts at www.howtolendmoneytostrangers.show or just www.htlmts.show. And I'll see you again next Thursday.